not my fault. It's just if I try to listen to all the evidence with a rational mind, it's pointing to they're not so good so far. Hi, Steve. First off, thank you for what you're doing and for giving us a place to share these very real stories. Please don't use my name. Unfortunately, I live somewhere where only a few, such as myself, know what is really going on. It's a shame. I've kept this one to myself for years, due to all the common fear of being ridiculed or being called crazy. This happened to me while on a night fishing trip with a friend in Ohio, 2016. We had a place to park and hiked in 3/4 of a mile, maybe a little further. We found a decent spot that had a small clearing, and we settled there. Now, we weren't out in the middle of nowhere. However, this was not a place where you would expect to run into anyone. As a matter of fact, the spot looked as if it hadn't been used for a good long while. Surrounded by tall trees, very tall grass, and some muddy swamp-like areas. They were absolutely covered in tracks. I sat and tried to identify as many as I could, as I've always had a fascination with tracking in general. I think I know why, and I'll mention it at the end. I cannot believe how many tracks I found. It was as if this area still belonged to nature. Deer, raccoon, coyote, turtle, and several different bird tracks. No human tracks and nothing out of the ordinary. Hopefully this isn't too long. Just want to describe the setting a little better. It was a beautiful little fishing spot. No noise pollution, no sounds of human life. It was perfect. We set up camp after I scoped out the area as it began to get dark. A slight fog rolled in and we put our jackets on, started a fire, and got our lines in the water. It was a very dark night. Not much moonlight, but we had our fire and our headlamps for sight. Around 1 in the morning, my friend decided he was cold and wanted to get warm in the car. I was not agreeable to this, as I've been taught from a young age and with many years of experience in the outdoors, this was not the ideal time to separate from each other. I reluctantly agreed and we hiked back to the car. Now, had he been there for what happened next, I might not have had to keep this to myself for all these years. I continued fishing and was having a decent night. It was a catch and release trip, and I had already landed a few nice-sized channel catfish and a turtle. I was sitting in my chair and started thinking, I wonder how long he's going to be in the car. I really didn't want to be out there by myself in the middle of the night in such an isolated area. Keep in mind, the only noises were insects, frogs, turtles, and I spotted the eye shine of a raccoon in the trees directly across the river from where I sat. It was a peaceful night until this happened. I didn't smell anything, and my hair stand on end. However, I could feel it. The ground shaking, that is. With every bipedal step, this thing took the ground, shook beneath me. I'm guessing it probably meant this thing made the ground shake beneath me. I cannot describe the sound of these footsteps. Each step shook the ground around me for a split second. Earthquake crossed my mind, but it was just a fleeting thought. You know, when your brain tries to immediately make sense of something you can't explain. I have no idea how far off this thing was when it started my direction, but I quickly realized it was running at me. I tried to regain my composure and remember hearing the last few steps, boom, 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 and it was standing just out of the firelight right behind me in that very tall grass. Then the quiet hit all around me. Silence, as if every living thing in that area knew to be quiet when it came to see what I was doing. As if a room full of rowdy kids were just startled by the sight of their father. I remained quiet as well. I didn't dare shine a light in its direction. I'm convinced it was coming to investigate why I was there. I continued to fish as if nothing was wrong, even though I was scared shitless, which is not a feeling you get very often when in the wilderness. I have a substantial amount of experience in the wilderness. I don't know which way it went, but I knew it had left when the crickets started back up. It left without making a sound. It was as if it wanted me to know it was there, but not where it went. If it had decided it didn't like the cut of my jib, I wouldn't be typing this to you now. Thank goodness it wasn't in the mood to rip me apart. I know it had to weigh every bit of 800 plus pounds. When I was sure it was gone, I drew my sidearm, as if that would stop this giant. and walked swiftly to the car to get my friend to come and help me carry our equipment out. I was done fishing. He was asleep with the heater and the radio cranked way up. I'm almost positive, had he not had the radio on, it would have woken him. I can't say what direction it came from exactly, but I think it may have either followed him or went to the car and checked him out first. I never did tell him that he quite possibly had an 800-pound giant watching him sleep. He asked why I had my gun out and where was the equipment. I didn't say a word. I just told him I needed help to get it. We left shortly thereafter, and I didn't say much to anyone for the next couple of days. I know they exist. I always have. I didn't see it because I didn't need to. I could have easily shined a light in its direction and laid eyes on it. I have no desire, as there are many different beliefs surrounding these creatures, and simply laying eyes on one can be considered a sign of very bad luck. No doubt. I can't remember where exactly I heard that, but I'm sure it came from the stories my great-grandfathers used to tell me. On my mother's side, her father was a full-blood Cherokee. On my father's side, my great-grandfather was a Blackfoot. I believe this is where my fascination with tracking comes from. They are long past, but I sure do miss the stories and knowledge of things most would dismiss as tall tales or stories to scare children. I've had other strange experiences, but that's another story for another time. I found that there was a great deal of truth in the things they used to talk about. These men were children in the early 1900s. I believe the stories they told were first-hand accounts and not fabricated in the slightest. Those of us that know would give anything to have that kind of knowledge around today. It's a great thing you're doing here, Steve. I truly mean that. I told my story exactly how it happened. I hope it lends something to this massive pile of knowledge you have amassed by creating a safe place for all of us who know and are tired of being lied to share. Thank you, Richard. P.S. It was great to finally be able to tell that story. Thanks again. Right on, man. Super stoked that you found this group of people and you got to get that off your chest. How many people feel relieved when they get to share that shit, right? I wonder how many of you are sitting on the fence still too nervous to share or blurt it out. You gotta get it out. You gotta share it. You gotta speak the truth. You might be dead tomorrow. You might be dead next week. Guaranteed you're gonna be dead eventually. Don't be scared. Get it out. Share the truth. Especially all of you people out there who know a lot more than your average person, and you've possibly been intimidated into keeping it to yourself or else. Well, I say F them and share it. Share what you know. Share what you got. Screw these so-called authorities. Screw the people who have intimidated you into being shut up. And made you take some kind of an oath to be sure that you didn't share anything with your fellow human being on the face of this planet. That's bullshit. If it doesn't harm national security in any way, but only helps your fellow human beings, share it. Okay? Quit being scared. You're gonna be dead. We're all dying. Don't take it to the grave. Share it. There's a lot of people out here that need that truth and need that support. All right? Anyway, here I go. Time to start this day. Oh man, end of the day. End of the day almost. End of the day almost. We're having one of our chickens here. First time this evening is for dinner. It's a little odd. It's not odd once you get it all done. It's just a little odd after the whole raising process and then the processing process. And it kind of makes you not really look forward to having chicken dinner. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely delicious, but we're going for it tonight. It's been a week since it got done, I guess. And I'm starting to get my bench, finally, one of my first benches on the shop wall. And I threw up some rod holders temporary on the shop wall to get the rods hung up, which they will be hung up normally, because you know how all you anglers know how it works. Your rods aren't up in the holders, they get broke. These are gifts from Sarah, so I can't be breaking them. But anyway, progress in the shop, I'll tell you, it's a good thing. And I'm limited on time now. I am out of here in a few days. So, trying to get, obviously, everything I can to get done before I go. Get so many emails on so many different topics, non-stop. I like it, but I have to make sure it's relevant to what we have going on the YouTube channel. Otherwise, we're going to get deleted if we sway off this channel, and I haven't had time to get the Rumble content ripping lately. But here we go. What's this? Sometimes the good word of the day is a bad one. I hear you. I've been watching your channel for some time now, and I've learned a lot. I watch every morning to see what else is new. The other day you were asking, why is it so many people are on the attack now if you don't agree with them? I don't for the life of me know, because it used to be you could disagree with somebody and you could still walk away friends. But whatever mind control is going on over society right now seems to mandate we all agree on everything, or the social media trolls will come for you, or the lamestream media and lay waste to your life and career. It's very sad. Those kind of trolls usually have a warning sign on their cars, which they proudly display a coexist sticker on their cars. So when you see one of those, you're guaranteed one of the indoctrinated is ready and willing to jump on anyone they feel is unworthy. I always thought there was truth to the stories I've heard about Sasquatch, and after listening to your show, there is no way that many people witnessing these things are making it up. It's just not possible. Now I'm so much more aware in the woods. I always was. And I'm extra careful. I've sent you other emails, don't know if you got them or not, but keep up the good work. Oh, when that thing people were complaining about cussing, I say do it. It's just a little bit of a stress reliever, I say. To those who are offended, get over yourself. It'll be okay if you hear a curse word. Nothing bad is going to happen. And I'm sure your kids already have. Linda. All right, Linda. Always good to get an encouragement email now and then, right? Appreciate that. Be safe out there. What else do we got? A lot of people emailing me about global news. I know it's not good these days. That's funny. I'm gonna say something. We're talking about that today, Sarah. A lot of people say the Great Awakening is coming, the big change is coming, elites are getting arrested in the background. And it's absolutely obvious that our human rights are being slowly yet consistently taken away from us. Our freedom has been taken away from us. Our freedom of speech has been on the chopping block for a couple years now. All the main social media monsters have put in a huge effort into controlling what you get to talk about freely. That's a fact. There is a whole pile of us out there who want to fight back against it. There is a whole pile of people who seem to think that end times are near. And then it kind of made me think about it. It's like, is it going to get much worse? How much worse can it get? And then I tend to swing my mind over to other countries, like let's take North Korea or China as an example, Iran, etc., where if you speak out loud, you get killed, or you are not allowed to have any food, or you are to go to work and not get paid and barely get enough food, as in North Korea. You know, China, it's a proven fact, China's been harvesting human organs and selling them around the globe to the elite. All sorts of injustices going on. What I'm getting at is all of those people in those countries, I wonder how long they told each other the end is coming and the elites are getting arrested behind the scenes and things are going to change and it's all going to implode and it can't go on this way much longer. I wonder how long those people said that to each other, only it kept on getting worse. That was my curious thought to the past couple days, was picturing it getting much worse. Canada, as far as I'm concerned, China's in absolute control of Canada, as far as I'm concerned. And it's slowly, steadily becoming worse. Slowly, but steadily. And like I said before, I just wonder, in the countries where it has been absolutely taken away from the people, and where there is that one human being who an entire country fears in control, which blows me away. It absolutely blows me away. It's some little pork chop, like that little piece of shit in North Korea, can actually have that control and make that many people fear him and kiss his ass. That to me is absolutely amazing and scary, because humans are human beings, and whatever worked to get that control can work anywhere if it gets out of hand, right? So maybe that's a little thought everybody could think about, is how long did all those people in those countries like North Korea, how long did all the people in the communities talk about how bad it was getting and how it can't go on much further? And look at them now. And then you got to wonder how much more we can take, and how much would it take for us to all of a sudden have that quality of life as those people under that dictatorship, right? It's a reality. It's not a fantasy to talk like this. It's a potential reality. How much are you willing to take? How scared are you going to be? Who do you fear? Or what's it worth to you to maintain freedom, or get the freedom you once had back? What's it worth to you? Everybody's got different levels, right? Anyway, thoughts. Thoughts. Good thing is, we can talk about whatever we want on this channel, no matter how much anybody snubbles. And we will. Canine was hunting me is the topic of this one. Let's see what it says. Thank you, Steve, for sharing this terrifying event. I believe the people should know, even though it happened in 1985. I was almost 20. I live in South Central Michigan. My boyfriend, now husband, I will call M, and I were driving around one summer night in the Waterloo recreational area. Nothing but woods and trails out there, and it was very dense. There are lakes, ponds, and swamps. I think you get the picture. We would listen to music and talk for hours riding around. By the way, we still do. That night I had a nature call, and we were far from a place with a restroom. He pulled over into this pull-off by the road facing the woods and told me to just go around the back of that big tree, and he would be in the car with the headlights on the other side of it. I got out of the car and went around the tree. Something made me stop and listen. I could hear the music in the car, although he had turned it down a bit. Then I heard it. A dog barked from quite a ways away. There were no houses close by at all. Then I heard rustling in the brush. I didn't wait another second as I sprinted back to the car and hurriedly got in. I said, "Let's go. Let's go. There's something out there." He asked if I had done my business. I said, "No, there's something out there." I was scared out of my wits. I was breathing so hard, my heart was in my throat. I knew whatever it was coming for me. I was being stalked. I said again, "Let's go." I rolled my window up as he was putting the car in reverse. Then it came out from behind that tree. We both saw it in the headlights. It was right in front of the car. It was taller than the hood of the car. It was on all fours. It was pretty wide, maybe 2 feet across the shoulder, with a massive head. Canine for sure. Gray, matted fur, and we could see its large teeth, and its mouth was foaming. I remember the look in its eyes. It was hungry. As we pulled backwards, it ran into the woods. I said, "What the hell was that?" Em was trying to calm me, I'm sure, as he said it was a wild dog, and I was on the verge of hyperventilating. I've never seen a dog like that. I don't remember telling anyone about it. I know my mom would have freaked and not let me go with Em out there again, and I doubt anyone would have believed us. All I know is that I listened. I listened to my surroundings, and I listened to myself to get the hell out of there. I got the absolute creeps, and I was right. I don't know what would have happened if I'd have stayed out there. Would M have heard me? Maybe. But what would he be able to do? Well, anyway, thanks again, Steve. I'm glad that being raised by going out in the woods at a very young age, mushroom hunting, had honed that sense. I listen to my senses no matter what. I try to instill that into my children, and now as our grandchildren get older, them too. Keep safe, Kay. Thank you so much for that share, and you're so right, and it's so awesome that you are encouraging the children to exercise their sixth sense or intuition and follow their gut instincts no matter what. That should be the very first lesson children are taught, period. And I wonder what that would do to them as they enter the public school system if they were taught to go with their gut feelings, number one in life when it comes to anything. I wonder what that would do. I wonder what that would have done for me back in the day. Thoughts, right? More thoughts. Keep thinking. Keep tossing thoughts around. Keep thinking for yourself. Think outside the box. What do we got here? One more and I know I gotta go in. Maybe I'll come back out. One of my early experiences is very scary. Hi again, Steve. I recently sent you an email concerning an experience my wife and I had near White Sulphur Springs, Montana during the summer 2017. I mentioned at the time I've had a number of experiences throughout my life, none of which I asked for. I was 11 or 12 and living in a small town in Kansas when this particular encounter took place. I loved being outdoors, and hunting was my favorite pastime. I took advantage of every opportunity to hunt whatever was in season, and jackrabbits were always in season. In fact, there were a couple of individuals living in my town that would pay 25 cents a piece for jackrabbits, which in turn allowed me to buy ammo and continue hunting as often as I wanted. A single-shot .22 rifle and a 20-gauge pump shotgun that I alternated taking and using on my hunts. Almost every day after school, I would walk home, change my clothes, fill my pockets with shells, grab the gun of the day, and head out the door. I would round up my black Labrador retriever and we would set off. We lived at the edge of town, so after walking for about 5 minutes, I was in the country, jumping rabbits. My favorite place to hunt was approximately 6 to 7 mile hike in a big circle that eventually brought me back home. During this hunt, and about halfway through, I'm usually walking near the river and I'm in grass and weeds that are sometimes waist high or taller in most places. This particular day I have my shotgun and as I'm nearing the river, I'm on a path that I probably made myself over time. I'm about 50 feet from the river and paralleling it with the tall grass and weeds separating me from it. I hadn't seen even one rabbit that day, which was not only disappointing but very weird. I almost always seen a number of rabbits by this time, even if they were too far away to shoot. But that day I had not seen any. I was slowly walking the path, looking and listening, when I noticed my dog was right at my heels. In fact, one of my heels had just popped her in the jaw. She was so close. She had never followed me like that before. Instead, she was always out in front of me about 15 yards, going from my left to my right and then back, nose to the ground working the brush. I scolded her and pulled her around in front of me and told her to hunt. Normally when I told her to hunt, she would practically jump forward and get going, but not this day. She got right back between my legs, making it hard for me to walk. I forced her back in front of me and we began to walk again, even though she was still so close I couldn't take a normal step forward. As soon as we started walking, I heard something else walking between me and the river in the grass and weeds. I immediately stopped and looked towards the sound, but saw nothing. Whatever it was had stopped too, but I couldn't see it. I guess I kind of blew it off and began walking again. My dog ran up in front of me a couple of steps and looked back at me like she was trying to get me to hurry along. Just then I heard the sound again, and the hair on my neck stood up, and I had chills going up and down my spine. I was definitely freaked out, but I couldn't see it. Where did it go? I know it wasn't there. Where was it? I started walking again, a little faster this time, and I could hear it keeping pace with me. And I could see the grass part as it moved through it. I suddenly stopped, and it did too, and I could see where it stood, but not what it was. My dog was making a low growling noise, and right where we both knew it was, so I tried to sick her on it. She knew what sick 'em meant and always before would charge at whatever I would sick her on, but this time she looked at me and then back at it, not moving, but continuing with that low growl. I took off running while listening and watching. It ran with me with very heavy steps, staying right beside me all the while. This time I screamed at it, saying I would shoot it if it didn't stop. I obviously thought it had intelligence and understood me. Regardless, it continued to parallel me. I pulled up suddenly and it did too. I saw the spot where it had stopped, so I turned towards it, and from the hip I shot. Pumped another shell in and I shot again, knowing I had hit exactly where I'd been standing. I looked up the trail and my dog was about 15 feet in front of me, whining and looking desperate to go, so I took off. I was running faster than I ever had, but it wasn't long, and she was 100 yards ahead of me, increasing the distance with every step. When I got home, she was on our front steps, anxiously awaiting my arrival. I didn't know better. I could have sworn she had the most guilty look on her face, and she wouldn't stop jumping on me, kept trying to lick me from head to toe. I didn't tell my folks for fear they would think I was crazy, they would believe me and not allow me to go hunting. I told my girlfriend, now my wife, and of course she believed me, and now she and we have had many experiences, some unexplainable, others we know are savvy. As you say, we're not asking for these experiences, but not about to let them stop us from enjoying the outdoors. We live in Montana now, and we still hunt, fish, camp, and hike in the mountains as often as we can. Thanks for helping all the knowers with your channel. You're one of a kind, and your unique delivery of each email and the way you express your thoughts and feelings make you one of the most honest and sincere persons I've ever known. Someone that'll boldly go where no man has gone before. Thank you so much, ARC and DLC. Thank you so much for taking your time out and sharing that with everybody through me. Thank God that thing didn't retaliate and say, let's get it on after you took that shot at it. And a lot of you people might be questioning this person shooting at what they didn't see. But if you put yourself out in the wilds, in nature, and if you go by the laws of nature, that person was being stalked, and that person was visibly armed and alone, and the dog was shitting itself. Now, for me, he gave it fair warning. And for me, I would have done the same thing. Without a doubt, I would have done the same thing. I probably would have just kept on shooting until the barrel was smoking hotter as I am, all right? You do what you do to preserve yourself. Hopefully one day we'll understand what the game is. Why do they do that? Why do they toy with simple human beings who are absolute zero threat, and they outclass extremely outclass us? Why? If you've got those skills and you can pull off exactly what that being did in this shared experience, why do they even persist on being on the fringes of where we are? There's a shit pile of terrain on this planet. I know one thing, I would be out in the absolute middle of it, rolling around at a high alpine lake and fishing and hunting and having a frickin' riot, and easily avoid human beings. Why would I go tempt my fate? Why would I go torment them? Why would I go paralleling children? Why would I go scaring the shit out of women? Why would I, do you know what it means that I'm getting at? I don't understand. I want to understand, I want to know. We're gonna know, we're going to know, eventually. But anyways, I gotta go in and try out our first self-grown and harvested processed chicken. So here we go. Keep the shares coming, and you guys keep sharing that knowledge. Don't be scared. And don't forget, feelings are going to get hurt. That's how you learn. All right?